Hey guys, it's Kevin, my review for Shiva Baby. So what Shiva Baby is essentially about is we center on this character, Danielle. She is this woman that is in a place in her life where she's feeling very directionless, but she has a lot of stuff going on as well. She has this guy in her life that's like her sugar daddy. There's this character, Maya, that she has some sort of a past with. She's also lying to her parents that she is in law school, and one day she attends this Shiva, and all of these characters end up attending this Shiva as well, much to her dismay, along with her sugar daddy's actual wife and this crying baby, which is, of course, to the horror of Danielle, where she now has to do what she can to try to balance everything and hopefully maintain all of the lies and not have to confront it head on. So Shiva Baby overall, I was very excited for this film. I've heard nothing but acclaim since it's come out. I believe back at Sundance last year when people were first talking about it, and I've been wanting to see it for a very long time now. I've heard really great things about it. I really didn't know too much of what it was going into it. I just knew that it was a film that a lot of people have been praising. It's finally gotten a release. I was able to actually see it a couple days early because a friend of mine and my girlfriend had a screening for it, and they knew I wanted to watch it, so I watched it with them. And this is definitely one of the best movies that I've seen in quite a bit. Shiva Baby is unlike a lot of films out there. It's honestly kind of hard to classify what this film really is, but it is one of the most chaotic, stress-inducing, but also deeply relatable films that I have seen in quite a long time. That is one that I have not been able to stop thinking about since I first watched it, and that is for a large majority of reasons, but we are just going to get into it right now, starting off with the cast. Absolutely, that is one of the things that makes this movie. I think if the cast was not as good as they were, this movie simply would not be as good, and especially for a film like this, where it is so focused on just these different characters and their reactions, you really do need someone that is going to express it as accurately as she can, and thankfully Rachel Sennott very much rises to the occasion here and gives, honestly, a pitch-perfect performance. I really have not seen her before this film. If I have, it's been in like very small appearances, but I definitely think we're going to be seeing her after this because she is a real talent here. She goes all out in really just portraying the anxiety and the fear that Danielle has throughout this whole thing, but also just how out of control she is throughout this whole experience, and the way that she, you know, undergoes this transformation throughout the film and really gets her to sort of confront some of the issues that she herself has been dealing with, I thought was wonderfully done. She is at points absolutely side-splittingly hilarious, and then at points she's very relatable and something that I think a lot of people are going to get behind, but by all accounts it's an amazing performance. She really crushes it in this role, and I think she very much carries this entire film. If she wasn't as good, the rest of the film would have absolutely sunk, and like I said, I think she is definitely a reason enough to watch this film. You have not heard of Sennott before, but I guarantee by the end of this film, you're going to be hoping that she gets all the roles out there because she is a true talent, and I cannot wait to see what else she does in the future because she absolutely killed it here, giving one of the best performances that I've seen in a while. The rest of the cast as well, everyone really does do a great job. Molly Gordon, I think, gives the best performance I've seen from her yet as this character, Maya, who I can't really say all that much about, but she really does kill it in this film. Danny Deferrari, I really like. Polly Draper and Fred Melamed are perfectly cast as Danielle's parents, who they're really trying to they're really trying to do like what's best for her, but at the same time they have a certain image of the way they want her to be, and they're just perfect as those characters. And Dianna Agron, for once, actually has a really good role that I think is actually able to fully utilize her talents. I feel like she's an actress that just normally is not given credit that she really does deserve, but that's also because in a lot of films she just doesn't have a lot to do. But here, for once, she actually does have a lot to do, and she really does shine because of it. Really, this entire cast, everyone really does kill it here. It's clear everyone's having a great time, and it definitely is one of the best parts of this movie for sure. But now we got to get into the directing and the writing because, oh my god, there is so much to talk about. I mean, Emma Seligman as a director. Again, not a director that I'm very familiar with, but I think after this film, I very much will be, because there is so much that she puts into this film, tonal-wise especially. I mean, this film is a myriad of different things. At a lot of points, it's a comedy, and it's a really funny one at that. The film itself it's a very awkward situation, so the comedy just naturally happens in that way, and she really does excel at that. But then she gets into a lot more deeper territory, and I think it makes the film a lot more relatable in that way. But then there's also sort of a undertone of horror in the film that apparently wasn't even intentional on Seligman's end. She said she didn't really know how to direct a horror film, but there are points of this film that very much are one, and I think she did such an incredible job directing this film. It definitely helps that Seligman is very similar to our lead character. She's Jewish, and she's also bisexual, similar to our lead character, and so it creates a relatability to her that I think a lot of people are going to be able to get behind. A lot of people are going to find themselves thinking about, and I think just in general, she put so much effort into this film. It's clear this was a passion project for her. This was something that she's wanted to make for a very long time, and it very much delivers. And I similar to Sennott, I cannot wait to see what she's going to end up doing next, because she definitely has a very specific style that I really have not seen a lot of directors able to pull off. Again, the amount of genre bending she does in this film, it should not work as well as it does, but it really works, and I think that is a real credit to just how well directed this film really is, and I think she just did such an incredible job directing this film. But screenplay as well in this film, though, is so good. The film is incredibly well written. It's very much a character study in that way. There's a lot of things going on here, but we really are seeing the world through Danielle's eyes. We're getting to see her in this situation, and I think they do a really good job of that, but especially her as a character. I think they do a really good job of slowly unraveling details about her. The film starts off, and you know that she has this sugar daddy of sorts, but you also know very early on that she's lying to her parents about what she's really doing. She makes them think she has this way more respectful job, and that she's doing a lot of things in her life, and that she's, really successful and very well off, but in reality, that's not really the case. And then she also has this character played by Molly Gordon that's in her life that she has some sort of a past with, and I don't want to get into too much of that, but the film dives deeper into their past a little bit, and so you really see that there is so much pressure that this character is going through, because she hasn't really been truthful to anyone. She's been telling lies to a lot of these people, mainly because she wants to make herself feel comfortable. She wants to be in control, and throughout this movie, she has no control because of the fact that everyone is showing up. Everyone is she has so many lies that she has to maintain, and you can see that it's becoming harder and harder for her to do so. And I feel like we've all kind of been where she is in her life, where there's a part of our life that we just are not very proud of. We partake in it, but it's not something that we would want to, we would want others to know about. It's not something that we think others would, revel in. We want to keep this to ourselves because we are ashamed of telling others that we're involved in it. And for Danielle, that's, there's quite a few things that she's involved in that she, again, doesn't want a lot of people to know about it. And so again, I think it creates this relatable sense to the character that a lot of people are going to enjoy, and I think it's played so well because Danielle just feels like such a well-realized character in that way. You really do understand who she is, you understand why this is so tough for her, but you also understand the absolute nightmare that she's going through here. I mean, just the amount of people that are constantly coming up to her, asking her these questions that she has to answer on the fly, even if it's not sincere to what's actually going on in her life. I mean, like I said, it's very chaotic in that way. The film itself, the way that they put you in this environment, it is so stressful to watch. I've seen people say this feels like a more low-key version of Uncut Gems, and honestly, that's a pretty fair comparison. The same way that film constantly had had you on the edge of your seat and constantly had you, sweating, not knowing what the hell was going to happen, and constantly having you just on edge throughout the whole movie. Shiva Baby does something very similar to that, because you truly do not know what's going to be thrown at Danielle next. It feels like she's constantly getting herself into these situations, and it's really well handled in that way. But like I said, the film is also really funny. There's a lot of great gags that we have going on here, whether it's the way that her parents are treating her, the relationship she has with her mom especially. There's some really great moments there for sure, but also just this situation itself is very humorous. I don't know much about a Shiva, but the way the movie portrays it, oh my god, I feel for anyone that has to, go to one of these things in their life, because it seems like a lot. It seems like a very stressful occasion, and the way the film portrays it, I think, is really well done in that way. And like I said, the various relationships that she's involved in are really crazy to watch, especially when it comes to her sugar daddy in the film. The way she's trying to maintain that whole relationship, it's insane to watch. And the way that she views the character of Kim as well, played by Dianna Agron, who she sees and has this very illustrious life, and this life that seems almost perfect, and in contrast to hers, you can see how unfulfilled she is. That definitely does add to the comedy. But like I said, the film isn't just trying to be funny. It also at points is kind of horrifying to watch, especially when you just see how stressful this is. I mean, there's this crippling sense of anxiety throughout the entire movie, and the film really leans into that very well, I think. And you start to realize, what starts off as just her trying to balance all these different relationships quickly turns into an existential crisis of sorts. And there's this great moment eventually in the movie where she just kind of lets loose, and you really understand how vulnerable Danielle is in this situation. I think it makes her character that much more relatable in that way, and that's the moment I think a lot of people are gonna find themselves latching onto, because we've all kind of been there in our life where, like, we don't really know where we're going, but we want others to think that we are, and that we do feel fulfilled, and that we have, we are well established and things like that, even if we're truly not. And I think that is a really great story, and I really like the way that it ends up being told here. I think it's definitely one of the most effective things about this movie. And every single time you think she's finally able to just kind of breathe and go about, this Shiva in a way that isn't going to be awkward, another situation happens, and it just keeps kind of building. And like I said, in some ways it's funny, but in other ways it's really hard to watch, because you're just kind of waiting for the next thing to happen. You don't know where else this film is really going to go, and so it adds an unpredictability to the film that I really didn't think it was going to have. And I think that's something else that really works within this film and makes it that much better as a result. So again, there's a lot of elements of the screenplay that just really do work for me. I think the film is incredibly well written. The dialogue is so on point, and I think they do a great job with that. But the cinematography as well. The thing that's really great about this movie is that almost the whole thing takes place in real time. The film doesn't cut a lot, and when it does, it's very effective in that way. And I think especially the way the film is shot, you really feel like you're there alongside Danielle, having to go along with everything, having to balance all of these different relationships, making sure they don't find out about the other one, and how tough that really is. It just adds to the, again, that anxious feeling that you have throughout the whole movie, and I think they did a really great job with that in terms of the cinematography. There's one shot especially that is downright terrifying, and it's honestly scarier than a lot of horror movies I've seen recently. I love the way they handled it, and I really think it's probably one of the standout scenes in this entire film. I love the way that it was done there. And the perspective especially, I think, is really well done in terms of cinematography. We don't really see things until Danielle sees them, and it makes it that much more effective in that way. And that's something I really enjoyed about this film. It never really leaves Danielle's perspective. There's never a moment where we're seeing a different character and we're seeing how they're reacting to this. It's how it directly affects Danielle, and so that's what makes it that much more stress-inducing, because they're like, oh no, what else is she really going to get herself into? And I think the cinematography really plays a big part into that. There's so many shots of just her face and things going on within the background, and then suddenly she's directly affected by it, and just amazing job with the cinematography. I really love the way this film was shot, for sure. The score to this film as well is very specific. It honestly is very, like, unsettling. It's mainly just like these strings that keep playing throughout the movie, but it really does work because it keeps the score itself escalates as it goes on and things start to get more chaotic, and it really does work, and I really enjoyed the score here a lot. And the editing, this film is actually really short. It's only like 70 something minutes long, and you're gonna go into that and you're gonna be like, wow, this movie's really short. But honestly, I think it's the perfect length, because I think if the film was any longer, it would start to drag. It would start to get a lot less interesting. The film has just enough going on to where it never feels like we're not getting enough of what's happening, because everything's just kind of thrown at us at once, and I think the film really does work as that. It's not surprising to me that this film was originally based off a short film, because it does feel like a longer short film in some ways, but again, not in the sense where like it should have stayed as a short film. It just works as a film that is a lot shorter than most, and I think they do a good job with that. So again, there's a lot I'm loving about this movie. Is there anything that really does bring it down? Well, I will say, because the film is so hyper-focused on Danielle, some of the other characters in this movie we just don't really get to know a ton about. Kim, especially as a character, I just found to be a little bit underwritten. There's some really good scenes with her and Danielle, and you see how awkward that whole thing is. But I think that they definitely could have done more with their overall relationship. I think they could have leaned a bit heavier into the contrast between the two of them. That would have made the film it would have made the film even funnier, but also a lot more insightful than it was, and I think would have made it that much better overall. But really, other than that, there's really not much I dislike about this film. Shiva Baby really impressed me as a film. It's very funny, it's very insightful, but it also has a bit of a horror undertone to it, and it's a film that I think in general a lot of people are going to find themselves very much relating to overall. It's got a standout performance from Rachel Sennott, who I know for sure is going to be a big star after this film for sure, but also a really great directorial debut from Emma Seligman, who I really do hope we get to see more of in the future. It's truly one of the best films that I've seen in quite a bit. It's not always perfect. There are a few aspects that I do think it could be better, but as a film, it's one that hooked me in pretty much the entire time, and it's one that I very much recommend all of you seeing. So I'm going to give Shiva Baby overall an A-. And because I'm a dumbass, I'm just now realizing that I forgot to record the outro to this video, so that's a little awkward, but I'm just going to do it right now. That's it for my review of Shiva Baby. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in my next video, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.